we go again, folks. The Think Fitness Life podcast. This is going to be Mindset Tips Part 2. And before we get going, Menchie has a tidbit of news to go into, and then I will open up with a quote before we talk about our first tip. So what you got, Menchie?
Everyone's probably used this at some time in their life. Mouthwash actually can interfere with the benefits of exercise. Very interesting.
I'm glad you brought this one up because I have some questions
So
for you on this
in
one.
this study, the premise is that mouthwash kills a number of bacteria. So with the bacteria, there's good and bad bacteria. Bad stuff that causes the bad breath, or you eat something and the saliva breaks down all the enzymes and produces not the best smell. But when you use the mouthwash, you're also killing good bacteria, so for the exercise part, when we exercise, there's certain enzymes that up and down regulate. But one of the big things is nitric oxide, and I'm sure you've heard of it, or people have heard of it, or it's NO2. Remember that pre-workout back in the day? I don't know if it's still around.
NO Explode? Yeah.
Yes, NO Explode.
Yeah, it is. It is still around. That was like one of the first pre-workouts I ever tried. That's funny.
So blood vessels open up during exercise,
Right.
and nitric oxide increases, and the diameter of the blood vessels, or vasodilation, increasing blood flow and circulation to active muscles. But they're saying that in the mouth, and actually in the salivary glands, this breaks down into nitrate, and the nitrate can actually be pushed back down as we ingest it into the mouth and then down into our system to turn over to make more nitric oxide. So it's a cyclical event. So some bacteria can use the nitrate, convert it into nitrite, and then production of nitric oxide, which helps you. So that with that, they were looking at, okay, well, if we use mouthwash post-exercise, how is this going to affect blood pressure? Because as research and physiology know, nitric oxide has a effect on blood pressure. Widening of the blood vessels leads to a sustained lowering of blood pressure after exercise. And they found that, as we know, you rinse with mouthwash, and they would see that the blood pressure would not actually lower. It would actually kind of stay the same or be elevated a little bit. So it could reduce the blood pressure lowering effect of exercise by more than 60% in the first hour of post-exercise recovery, and then cancel them completely after 2 hours. Which to most people, they're like, okay, well, they might not use mouthwash right off the bat after exercise or whatever. But the big thing here is mouthwash is actually not the best thing for us. And doctors and dentists over years of research have kind of said that we really don't need it. And actually, it can kill a lot of the good bacteria in our mouth. And with that, people who...
So wait, but it's strictly just post-exercise.
This one was post-exercise use. So
as long as I don't have it like a couple hours before I work out and a couple hours after I work out, it will have no effect on the vasodilation or the nitric oxide boost
because
exercise.
Think about this: if you're using mouthwash consistently and you're taking away that good bacteria, that becomes problematic because you're not able to turn over enough nitric oxide or create enough. So you're kind of taking away the body's own production system of something that should be there. Now, I can't sit here and say that you're going to be fine or you're not going to be fine. I can't say that. I would hypothesize that even taking some of that bacteria out of the mouth would have some effect later on in the day. And
yeah, or even an accumulative effect if you're doing it every day. So that is really interesting. So the takeaway here is, do you use mouthwash, intermittently, like a couple times a week, or do you just forego the mouthwash altogether and get a better toothpaste?
And that's the debate now, because there's a lot of out there on mouthwash and its effects, and it's not really showing that it's really beneficial. So at Harvard, they found that people who use mouthwash twice a day, didn't matter what time, were 55% more likely to develop diabetes or dangerous blood sugar spikes within 3 years. So what that kind of tells you is
Is that the forefront of our
exactly.
microbiome is our oral
Yep.
biome, our bacteria in our mouth. Yeah. And I'm very cognizant of the products I use are all around my house. Soaps on my skin, soaps in my mouth, toothpaste, deodorant, and I use Dr. Bronner's. It's the best rated one out there. It's got the best ratings. It's great for all sorts of issues or sensitive skin, and we are in no way affiliated with them or try making any money off them, but I stand by that product. Dr. Bronner's, they're certified fair trade, they're organic. It's I'm pretty sure the bottle's biodegradable. Like, she does everything she can to make that product like pristine. Um, but yeah, I didn't think about the
Right.
mouthwash. I just always got like the off-brand Listerine from CVS or
Yeah.
Target or something, right?
Oh yeah,
Save an
and
extra buck.
that's what I did. And it's, as you read more now, it's like, okay, well, something that was beneficial to, like, okay, yeah, this doesn't, it's not really that beneficial. And kind of tying it back to the exercise part of it, nitric oxide is also important for regulating metabolism and balancing energy demands in the body and keeping blood sugar levels in check. So what happens if you're consistently using something like this? Like, you can actually screw your metabolism up by taking out certain bacteria in the mouth that should be going to the stomach and the gut flora to help turn over and create different enzymes, different products. You're taking that away. Now, before you're even eating anything, you're already doing damage to your system. So I would say the big takeaway from this is
Right, right.
check
You're
your
like,
mouthwash. You probably don't need it. There's some really good stats and research out there that shows that this is actually non-beneficial to the body, especially if you're someone who's consistently using it and has a poor diet. Like, it's not helping at all.
yeah, you're basically like destroying a wall and letting a war come through. Um, it's really interesting, and it just makes me want to get out to the stores and start looking around, reading different products and like what's in them. And I guarantee it, just because these are all like alcohol based, um, antiseptic based, where they just they're just designed to kill, and they kill. What Listerine always says, 99.9%. And not only is that bad, because we need to work and live in symbiotically with bacteria in, around, and on our body, but you actually eventually will make the bacteria stronger, and then nothing will kill it. And we've already started a world of antibacterial hand sanitizer everywhere, and people getting um, overrun by pretty simple bacteria and simple um, sicknesses, because they're just like over sterilizing. So maybe
Yeah,
Listerine isn't, or like not
that's
Listerine, excuse me. So like maybe mouthwash really isn't needed, and it's just basically for breath purposes. Because I would probably say 90% of why I did it was just because it feels good and it leaves a good smell on my breath as I go into work.
yeah. And now that you know that
That's
you
not
could be
worth it.
damaging
It's
your
not worth it.
metabolism and your gut health, and it's and that's just like you said, just like the hand soaps and soaps that we use. I mean, we really don't need to be over sanitizing ourselves with lotion,
Well,
antibacterial
yeah,
soaps,
exactly.
and
There are
what other
good
stuff.
products.
People like the
Like
sprays and
you
the
just have to be a smart shopper. You gotta be mindful about all this stuff. Yeah, like
Lysol.
glyphosate. You just gotta make sure that you're think about where you're putting your money to. Do you want your money to go to someone who doesn't give a shit about your health and will take shortcuts and put poisons knowingly on or in and around your body or around your kids? Like I just would rather give my money to somebody in a product that they actually like, care for it and the way that they would pick their product. Um, just simple
Yeah.
things like that.
No, obviously there's times where you do need that stuff, hospital settings where
Because
there could
people's
be
immune
some
systems are
really
already
really
knocked down so
interesting
far
bacteria
that
that
if
out
they
there.
get one little bit of sure,
Yeah.
totally.
But in your home on your counter, like I could see if you had like raw meat on it, but you don't need to be lysoling everything every time and scrubbing it down. You know, we need
So
to
one
be in
key
contact with good
distinction
bacteria in our world.
when you're in a hospital, you're preventing from getting your bacteria to the already sick patients and residents. Whereas at home and in your own habits and behaviors and lifestyle, you're the one who is fighting off of outside bacteria. When you have to realize that you can't beat them, you got to join them. But yeah, you know,
Well, that's breaking down mouthwash a little
yeah,
bit.
I
I
know
think
Tom's has an organic product out there, or not. I shouldn't even say organic, but just they have a more health conscious product out there. But it's going to make me think twice about even needing to use mouthwash. Like I said, I use Dr. Bronner's toothpaste, and it's got a good taste, and it's made from good products, good ingredients. I would definitely check them out. Um, but it'll be interesting if as they do more and more, because I've actually heard a couple other doctors on their podcast say things like oral hygiene and oral uh, biome, oral bacteria, right? So I bet more and more we'll start to see studies with pertaining to oral bacteria levels and different solutions and ones that we've been doing for so long that have been destroying us. But yeah, I guess that wraps that one up. That was a good piece of news. I I don't really have any other questions regarding that one. I think we kind of summed that one up. So I'm going to lead us into our mindset tips part two. Eric and I went over, I think, only four total last time, just two each, or two or three each. And we're going to just keep going, see how many we get. Maybe we'll have a part three for you. But so this quote is from Marcus Aurelius. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. And I will start us off with the mindset tip that I am going to start us off with is actually very fitting to Marcus Aurelius, and he is of Stoic philosophy and Stoicism. And this one is obstruction versus opportunity. So this is a Stoic principle, and another Marcus Aurelius quote that actually applies to this particular tip is the impediment to action only advances action. What stands in our way becomes the way. So the point is that you can't get distraught or be kind of overrun or scared of kind of different obstructions in the day or different disruptions in kind of what you planned out and how you're going to have the day go. And you have to look at it as opportunities because you have to get through it. So you just have to look at it as an opportunity rather than an obstruction. You were planning to go to lunch with a friend, but this something just dropped on your plate that changed that, and you got to stay and do some extra work. And you got to look at that as an opportunity to just sharpening your craft and getting better at what you're doing and advancing the work that you're doing. And that's the little switch, little mindset tip is anytime an obstruction comes, and we all have them throughout our day, flat tire, a bill that came in the mail that you didn't expect, a loved one just canceled plans on you. Okay, I'm going to look at it as an opportunity to get some reading done. I'm going to look at it as an opportunity to get some cleaning done. Instead of an obstruction, instead of a disruption to your day, it's an opportunity for something new that you didn't have previously planned.
Those are big for people, and everyone's going to have them, like you say. Those moments when then it's a decision to make. Are you going to go with the second path that you said and use this as an opportunity, or are you going to kind of sit there and dwell in what just happened or think what could have happened? And that's tough for a lot of people. But as you're going in after part one, you're building this mindset. You have to recognize when those situations pop up, and they're going to pop up almost all the time.
And I'm sure we said it in the first episode, but it's all just a practice. I mean, there are still things that come up that I get first knee-jerk reaction upset about, and then redirect my thinking and look at it as an opportunity for me to go sort through my emails, or me as an opportunity to get a longer workout in, or go hit the sauna, or somebody has to reschedule, and I look at it as an opportunity of getting to bed early and getting on my sleep realigned. So you just have to always kind of look for the silver lining, essentially. But it does become, or it does start really as a lot of deliberate effort, but then it becomes more and more second nature.
Right. Whatever that event happens that opens up time in your day, or time gets opened up at somehow, you have to ask yourself the question, what am I going to do with that time?
Or time gets lost because everything just got piled onto your plate. You have no time for yourself. But you just have to look at it as you have to always be able to take that obstruction or that disruption and look at it as an opportunity for something, whatever that may be.
And then kind of flipping that, there will be times that you have to say no to people who you have the time, and say you have 3 hours blocked off, but someone, calls you up and like, oh, hey, do you want to go grab coffee, or do you want to chat? I wouldn't
label that an obstruction, though. I would think that's more of just a choice.
Well, it can be.
Rather than something that was like forced on your schedule that obstructed. You know what I mean? Like it really got in the way.
Right. But okay, I should say, I would say some people who, say, I just finished a session and, someone's trying to talk to me, but I know that I have X, Y, and Z to do. I personally will be like, okay, no, I have to go do this. I can't spend time.
Yeah. Talking. I like the side you're talking about.
Or be like, or someone's just, hey, do you want to go do this and do that and do nothing for the hour? And I'm like, okay, no. Because a lot of times I think people will take that and they'll be like, yeah, sure, I'll go do this, because it is procrastination. It's putting something off that they know they have to do. And I think it probably in a lot of work settings, it happens a lot. So especially in my setting where I've seen people, they're like, oh, I'm gonna work out. And then someone will come and be like, oh, do you want to go get lunch, or do you want to go out and do something? The person will be like, yeah, there goes your workout. There goes the time to work out. And then they come in later, oh, I have no time to work out today. And I look at them like, really? Hey, come on. I mean, you made that choice.
Yeah, but see,
that's like your internal obstruction, because you made a choice that's not helping you to where you want to be or your goals that you want to achieve. You always have to have, going back to part one, is what's your vision? Are you looking straight down that road at your vision, or are you going to take a side road to try to get distracted?
Yeah, but where I get stuck with that one is just when I think about the opportunity for the person who put something off that they should be doing, that the opportunity was for them to live in the moment, or the opportunity was them to take a break, or the opportunity could have been for them to stand up for themselves and say no and be disciplined in what they need to get done, because a lot of people can get stuck kind of going with the flow, being a people pleaser. But I still think that's correct in both scenarios, depending on what they chose. I think that that's doing what you want to do and sort of following your true nature to what it guides you to. If it guides you to a feeling of procrastination because you've been working so hard, I feel that's much more natural to come about than someone who just procrastinates all the time. So that's I gotta disagree with you there, because I think it's an opportunity either way, still based upon the free will of the individual and what they want to do. But if somebody wanted to, their friend called them to come have lunch, and they went to go have lunch, and then their boss called them and said, no, come back right now, right? Like something, an obstruction, like something that demanded them to do something, or got in their way from doing what they wanted to do, then that's against your free will. And instead of you looking at that as that's a free out of my free will, and I have to now do something I don't want to do, you say, okay, I'm going to look at this as an opportunity where I'm going to go kick this work's ass, or whatever the outcome of the situation is. I just think that the main point, though, is just how you let the situation sit with you when it arises, and if something does obstruct you. And that's why I gotta just disagree with you on that one.
I like it. I would say for most people that I've coached and talked to, it's that if you do have a goal or a plan or something to achieve, and anything that comes up that deters you from that goal is problematic.
It's an obstruction.
So
Okay.
especially if people sit down and they're goal driven and I want to lose weight, I want to gain muscle mass, I want to do this, and I'll ask, "Okay, are we doing this every single day?" And sometimes people be like yes, and some people no, and some people, all right, twice a week. What are you doing on those other 5 days that you could be gaining towards this goal? So if it's, let's just take weight loss. If it's weight loss and all of a sudden your friend's like, let's go out to eat, and you kind of know your friends, yeah, our friend likes to go get pizza, not the great food, and you say yes to that, you kind of, I would say someone already knows that they're setting themselves back for going in that direction.
But that's not an obstruction to their day. They chose yes. You
Right.
know what I
And I
mean?
think it's more of like a mental obstruction. Like they
See, I think
or
with these
goal
mindset
obstruction.
tips, if it, well, because you're there's going to be plenty of obstructions in your scenario that you
Right.
wouldn't be able to recognize. But in terms of mindset tips and having to be kind of aware of what's going on, when I guess I'm referring to obstruction, defining it by saying something that comes up unplanned, that you didn't plan for, that you didn't want to do initially, something that disrupted your agenda, or um, yeah, agenda is the best word. Something that disrupted your agenda for the day.
Okay. So I'm coming at more of decisions. The small decisions that you have to make towards your goal. Where you're saying that it's something comes up that is unavoidable. and how you react to it.
Right. That's what I
So
would
that's
define
that's
obstruction
your tip.
as.
And I say
And
mine would be, okay,
yeah.
recognizing
Okay.
when life will throw certain choices at you, when to recognize that that is a goal obstruction and it's not going to be beneficial to reaching what you want to do. So two different things, I think. Two
Yep.
different scenarios,
Totally.
two
Totally
different
two different
tips.
things.
So
Totally two different things.
com- correlated, but two completely different tips to learn and recognize two different
Yeah.
things.
And you're yeah. So to clarify one more time is just basically mine is obstruct versus opportunity. Something that disrupts your flow of the day or agenda of the day or good vibes of the day. You redirect that thinking and observe or learn or define how it's an opportunity for something else. And basically looking at that side of the coin or the glass half full or the silver lining of the scenario. And it's much more stoic uh, rooted. Just like the obstacle is the way. But so, and then yours is um, when something comes up, there are always going to be some kind of hidden ways that you have to be more aware of and be mindful of that are going to actually disrupt or obstruct or deter you from your goals, and you have to be a little
Correct.
bit more mindful of that. Like it. Yeah,
That's a tough one. That is
I
a
would.
tough one that I think a lot of people deal with daily. And
Oh, totally.
I
That's
don't
probably
know
the
if people actually
hardest.
recognize, well, I think some do, but I think they don't recognize it as a problematic, more of just, oh, this is daily life. And then when it comes down to what they're trying to do in life, or their whatever their passion or goals, and they're not completing it, they have to sit down at the end of a day, week, and say, okay, what did I do with my time to progress to where I want to be? And I would say you talk to a lot of people and they get stuck in this habit loop where they want something, but they're not actually progressing towards it. And they're just kind of living this stagnant life of like rinse, repeat, do it again, rinse, repeat. And they're not adding any stimulus to change it. So I think that's where people need to very much sit down and map out where their day is going, where their week's going, and where they want it to go. And when stuff, and they have contingency plan for when stuff like you're saying comes up, and damn it, emotions set in. Okay, what can I do to use this time efficiently? And how's this fit into my schedule? Your goal schedule, not your work or life schedule, but what you want to accomplish.
Yeah, I think that's a hard tip, and I like it. I think it's really important to bring up. I didn't have anything that touched on this really, and
No, we're in part two, and I think part one's kind of the basic, and now we're starting to get into, okay, what you're really going to have to do to really tweak and have a stronger mindset. And it gets tough like that. And there are going to be things in today's podcast that are going to be like give and
well, I
take.
think
If I do
the
this, I'll miss out on this.
I think the underlying thing to help with this one is just kind of always reassessing and always, I don't know who said it, but like some quote goes, "The unexamined life is not worth living." And if you're constantly rechecking in with yourself and your goals, you're going to be that much more in line with them rather than like veering off or falling off track. Because yeah, it can be as simple as because I'm digging a little deeper here too with in terms of kind of the other things that can obstruct your goals with just like the water that you choose to drink or the sourcing of where you get your food or the food sourcing of where the restaurant gets their food or the oils that they're cooking these things in. um, you know they all play a role. And it's harder than just, what do I pick for dinner? Oh, this place had good reviews on Google. This place says it has healthy in the name or in the description, and you just don't know all the finer details of everything you're getting. And they talk about, bioaccumulation of everything from pesticides, hormones, antibiotics, different cleansing products, and I think all these toxins and all these things to watch out for are going to be more and more avoided when you are constantly reassessing and essentially growing all the time, right? Like your friend invites you out for pizza, you're probably going to be a little bit more aware of asking yourself, like, is pizza a really good idea? Like, let's see if we can we go to this place instead, right? You redirect it. But then there are definitely going to be times where you're going to look back and have to say, wow, okay, that definitely obstructed from my goals. And you're just going to have to keep adjusting it as you go and growing it as you go with your kind of your check-in points.
And we believe we talked about this in part one, is that word reassessing is so big on all facets of training, nutrition, and mindset. And we have to continuously be doing that. And I think that's great that you just brought that up. And it kind of builds into I would say it's very similar. My next tip is shift your mind into a developing mindset. So almost have that growth towards a goal. So I know we've talked about growth and fixed mindset on here before. If anyone's new to hearing that, go back and check out those previous episodes. But we don't want to be in a fixed mindset. I think that is very problematic for the human brain, and it just creates this stagnant, not moving world, where if we change it into a growth mindset, we're starting to manage all the things we just talked about that come up when you reassess. Okay, are we going to have something else develop? All right, once we do that, we'll do something else. So always having that and trying to grow that mindset, no matter what it is. That's my next tip, and I think it kind of falls right in line with what we just talked about on your first tip.
Yeah. So,
And I would say big thing, recognizing when. So growth versus fixed is it's like a back and forth. There's times where you could be fixed, and there's times where you can be growth. Obviously, it's like not going to be your growth mindset. It's going to stay like that forever. Good. Some people, it might. And I hope that's where a lot of people get to. There's always times where, oh, I have an hour off. Do I just do nothing? Do I sleep? Or do I read a book? Do I go read an article? Do I do something like that? Those are the decisions that lead us into that mindset. So having more decisions going towards productivity will turn you more into a growth mindset rather than just taking an easy way. I'm going to rest or I'm going to do something simple. Always trying to do something development to yourself different in creating a whole new version and diving more into how do I control this gelatin between my ears.
and I was gonna say that it was, it's probably one of the most important principles in the Think Fitness Life um, world, honestly, because we talk about just asking questions and finding solutions and being skeptical and having healthy doses of skepticism, to learn kind of what's best for your biology and your life and your habits and your goals. So it just goes right hand in hand with what we're all about, because Carol Dweck does great work on this one, but it's just about your potential for more knowledge input and more expansion when you're growth mindseted versus fixed mindset, even in terms of understanding certain principles. And the main study that she referenced was just the learning capacity of children, and one group had given letter grades and another group given kind of yet or not yet. And it's just such a great analogy, the way the whole study was set up. And instead of being given a letter grade and having that letter grade stamped on that person for that subject and that material and that information, they were just given like yet or not yet. So they were something like 30% more motivated to like keep learning and got higher scores on the tests and stuff. So it just goes a long way to be growth mindseted. And for those who are just tuning in now, definitely Google that one so you can get a better idea of what that means. And I guess I'll lead with another tip.
I like how we're almost 40 minutes in, and what have we gone through? Two,
yeah. And I was trying to think of one that would have, because they all kind of ping ponged off each other really well. And I was just looking real quick to see if any of them kind of fit in. And I'm happy to say they're actually pretty different. But I'm going to go with having a mindset of adopting the principle of respect all, fear none. And it's actually kind of encompasses like the yin and yang of the kind of the outlook of living and achieving things, where people always argue like if you are like walking forward, then you're pushing down all the things behind you, and you're hurting all the dirt and the grass beneath your feet doing that, and you have that on your conscience, right? But it's just like, no, like have respect for everything, but don't have any fear for anything. Like go out and achieve, and go be you, and go conquer this world, but have respect for others. And that's just a really good mindset to have. And I think it's also really important for confidence as well, because I feel like I know I do this a lot, and I do see my clients do this a lot, just kind of like over respect, or trying to show over respect or patience for just waiting for somebody to do something at the gym, or being afraid that they're going to be, too loud if they grunt, and like if they try too hard and they make a noise, they're going to disrupt people. And I think that goes along with it, because I too myself hold it to certain situations where no, like I can have respect for everybody, but still have no fear in the situation to like go after what I want without feeling like I'm disrupting others.
Do you notice that a lot at your gym?
I think I noticed that a lot with every gym I've worked at. Not about people being afraid to make noise necessarily. More so, people like afraid to use a perfectly open piece of equipment or open area or open bench, and, with like nobody around them. And it's just like yo, go in there, go after what your agenda is, go be a hustler after your goals, and have respect if anyone comes back and is like, hey, I was actually using this area. Or you see someone come back, and then you can say, hey, I'm sorry. But I feel like so many people are too hesitant, and for kind of a lack of a better way to describe this, just not confident enough to go in, so to speak. Go in on something.
Yeah.
Like taking the opening on the road.
Take advantage. Want to be competent that's a huge thing for mindset, is knowing where you want to go, and not like your beginning quote of the day, not caring what people are going to think of you, and going doing that. Because at the end of the day, most people, yeah, you know, they're going to watch you work out or whatever, but when they go home, they're not thinking about you, you
Yep.
know? So that open space, that open bench, all this stuff, take advantage of it. Hopefully you're not embarrassed. I know a lot of people are when they first come into a gym. They're intimidated. Don't be, because everyone's in this same exact situation that you are. Oh, is someone watching me? Oh, is this person watching me? Is that person? We all do it. Even as trainers, you still have that. Once you get that down after a while, you're so involved in your workout and how this workout's
And
going to
you get
benefit
your goals.
your
You're
goals.
going after your goals, like
You
regardless of the
you
people
don't
around you,
even
regardless of what you look like, the noises
yeah,
you're making.
you don't even realize the outside world. It's you just start stopping. You might start getting into these, well, we've talked about flow states before, where it's just you and you. And then once you're done, the whole world comes back to you, and you've kind of, in that hour, you've gone to a different place, and you're better off for that. And I think that's one of the best things about going into a gym and exercising, is you can kind of have this little mental escape.
Yeah.
That's why, I know if you said this before, get off the phones when you're in the gym. Try to get away from television stuff. Use that time to really work on you, and not just try to flood it with, oh, let me do a set of squats and scroll through Instagram, and oh, you know, I just wasted more time.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge
Put your phone on
thing.
silent. Put it on an alarm for when you know that you would have to head towards the locker room to shower and get back to whatever you're doing on time. And that way, you literally get to tell yourself, don't check the clocks. Go lay down on the stretch mat. Close your eyes. Breathe. Just hang out until you feel relaxed. And then get up. Go on a piece of equipment and get your aerobic system turned on for 3 to 5 minutes. And then get after it. But I think respect all, fear none has a little edge to it, is a little bit extra badass because I hold it to
Yeah.
me for, personally, because I totally lacked confidence and had bad social anxiety as a kid. So that one helps me, and for anyone else who kind of lacks that confidence, that confident swagger or step or ability to just kind of go in and do their thing. I think that's a good kind of nomenclature to remember it by. But I think a good quote that kind of summarizes it is by Henry David Thoreau, and it was just go confidently in the direction of your dreams, live the life you have imagined. And on a bigger scale, that's exactly what you're doing.
Mm. Throwing some Thoreau out there. Love it.
I'm a quote guy. I love those quotes.
I mean, some of those, even though that's never really pertained to the fitness world, it's still an unbelievable quote, and you can still use it so well and so much in all aspects of life,
Yeah.
which is great. All that old school stuff.
And then don't have fear about you, but at the same time, make sure you respect others. Don't be a dick.
True. Can't be. Can't do it. Not one bit.
So what do you got? You're up. Or where do you think we should leave it at 4 here to make a tip 3?
So after that one, I have one thing that I'm gonna say always, but really want people to start doing, and after that is, you know, you're respecting everyone but fearing none. But with that, you have to own your own actions, and that's always been one of those big things for me, because you've seen people, or you hear people, they'll do things and they'll say, "Oh, well, why is this happening to me?" or why did this, or why am I in this situation? I'm I'm excluding all the stuff that, that's out of our control. You know, diseases, all that unfortunate events. But the stuff where people look back and say, "Oh, I could have done this better. I could have practiced more. I could have spent more time in the weight room." And I've seen this a lot in sports when people come back to me, or coaches ask, "How did you felt you did?" And a lot of people be like, "Oh, I felt all right." Did you work hard enough? And they'll say yes, but I think in the back of a lot of people's mind is the question is to ask themselves is, did they? And do you have to own what you've done? And I think it's the same thing, and this will tie into everything we talked about earlier. Say if you're trying to lose weight and their distraction comes up, and you have to make that decision and choice. Did you make the right decision and choice? And if you didn't, in your case or my case, this distraction came up and it derailed you. You have to own that action. And if it happens consistently, that's problematic for your mindset because you're not changing anything. So once people step back, reassess, and say, okay, this is my life, I have to take accountability and ownership for me. That starts with my decision making. Now you put everything in order towards where you want to be. And I think a lot of times it gets in our world with the nutrition, exercise, that part of it, even mindset. I think a lot of people get very discouraged, or they're looking for your favorite quick one click button fixes or one stop fixes that when they do something and it works, why don't they stay with it? How many people have you met or talked to and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm on this whole 30 diet." And at the end of it, they're like, "I've lost so much weight. I feel great." What do they do after 30 days? They go right back to eating their old foods and they're in the same thing. So for a lot of people or everyone, you got to own your actions every single day. Food choices. Is this healthy for me? Is this going to benefit me? Every time you're hungry, that's the question you have to ask yourself. Because every time I ask myself when I go to eat, is this going to benefit me? Same thing in the weight room. Is this going to benefit me? When you're doing work or reading or homework, is this going to benefit me? So I would say that's my next tip.
All right. Well, I think I'll just go ahead and list off my last one because it
Fire away.
goes hand in hand with that one anyway. So it's no point in saving it. Just discipline and temperance. Um, being able to tell yourself no, self denial, and temperance, being able to be um, humble and balanced and modest, and especially in terms of food and drink. I think it's really important, but just with decision making as well. That's why it kind of was pretty obvious that I was going to say it right after yours was just kind of you brought up about asking yourself if it's going to benefit you or not, and it goes a long way. And then having discipline to then say, okay, it's not going to benefit me. I gotta not partake. I gotta redirect this somehow, change the plans, or I'm not going to participate or whatever. But having that discipline or having that temperance of saying it will benefit me, but I should only have one cup of coffee tomorrow, or I should only have one cookie, right? But having that temperance of saying that you've had enough. And I think a good quote that applies here, I don't know who said this one, but amateurs practice until they get it right. Professionals practice until they can't get it wrong. Because don't be so hard on yourself when you are in this journey and you still identify something's not going to benefit you, but you go ahead and do it anyway. There's going to be, weeds in the garden, so to speak, but you can't get mad about it. Just take care of it. So I think that's a important one, and kind of my last one that I had to say.
All good stuff. And we've definitely on this one, I would think you would agree, but we've definitely took a deeper dive into tweaking the mindset. So this isn't just base stuff that is like step one, easily, readily applied. I think this is a stuff where it's okay. Now that we've mastered maybe the first couple things, we can start moving on to these ones and really start to
I
hone
think
in our skills. You could have
I think what's important to know though is both of these podcasts, part one and two, they're all tips that there's no like order you
correct.
learn them in. You just kind of pick one up, what everyone speaks to you, absorbs to you, sticks out in your mind more. Work with that one first, and if it's one to even work on, maybe you'll listen, and then it'll pop in your head like in a week from now, or a month from now, or a couple months from now, and you're like, oh, that's what that meant, and then you'll investigate more then. But yeah, it's all just a journey. Or excuse me, I don't even like saying that anymore.
What is?
It's all just a practice.
Yes, practicing on the journey. All good stuff, and I always love talking mindset. I think it's one of the most crucial things that people have a big issue with, or I would say issue is tough time trying to get that down.
I think it's been much more recent that emotional health is really important. But our parents, they were raised in a time that was not a thing at all.
Correct.
And they raised us, I can't speak to everybody, but I think that generation did a better job in sort of being mindful of some of that stuff. But then I think we took it a step too far. And Peter Attia was talking about this on one of his podcasts it was actually not his episode. It was with Dan Harris. He wrote a book called 10% Happier. It's about meditation. And meditation used to be looked at as just kind of weird in what people in Asia do. And it wasn't really adopted in Western practices because we're just so rooted in science. But there's plenty of roots to science and meditation anyway. But regardless, so Peter Attia and Dan Harris, 10% Happier podcast, great episode. And Peter Attia talks about how, like, when you look back on an experience that changed your childhood or changed your development or changed your perspective in some way, and then he said, this is a good point that he made, that a good litmus test for that is to say, would I be able to withstand my child going through that? And if you can say yes, then it's probably a good scar that should happen, kind of coming of age and growth and development and making a stronger mental, emotional, physical human child. And if you said no, that you don't wish that you would be able to withstand that happening to your child, then it's probably not a healthy scar that shouldn't have happened. But we could probably do a whole episode on participation trophies.
Don't get me started with those.
But that's my point, and I think that more and more it's been developing more and more in the last even 5 years, and it's really cool because I think it plays a huge role in how our bodies operate. Our mind controls the body and vice versa. So, the old adage here is you say it here, you think it here, and then you feel it here, and you're pointing to your mouth, your head, and then your body. So just definitely is really fun to investigate, and I'd love to talk about this topic too. So I guess that's wraps it up for today. And I mean, I guess the only thing after hours would be, do we want to do another mindset tip one in a couple months and give us some more time to think of some, or talk to our clients and figure out if there's some more tips we can come up with, or should we go to a whole other topic of mindset? Or
I think
I mean,
I think it would be
yeah, what
I
episode
think
do
it
you
would be
want to
kind of
record
cool
next?
to kind of ask some people, our clients, people that maybe aren't our clients, what they feel that their biggest struggles are when it comes to decision making
I
and
don't think
mindset.
people are going to open up about that.
You might get some, you might get people who are, okay, I can't, who are younger, I can't not go out with friends and not drink, or there's a lot of stuff out there. And the tough thing is,
I think a lot of people struggle with
yeah,
just
I would agree.
mindfulness.
And I think that's something you'd see a lot. And unfortunately, there's not really, actually, not unfortunately, there's no cookie cutter way around being mindful. And I think that's key.
No, we just,
Yeah.
you just have to practice it, and you have to meditate to be calm. Because if you practice something when when you don't have any distractions around, then you'll be better at doing something when there's piling
Yeah.
distractions one by one. So it's just a continued practice. But yeah, I guess we should go to another topic other than mindset. We can always revisit mindset, because we could talk about this for hours, and it's almost better to kind of give it a break, because I didn't. There was a couple things I was going to say, and then I remembered I'd said that on the first podcast. So yeah, just noting. That's it, folks.